All right. I'll see you in a little bit. Brenda says it's going to be a long
We're going to have Commissioner Witt do our pledge and our prayer.
We can bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we thank you once again for the opportunity to come together in free and open government in this great republic and do the business of the county in open. We ask you to please be with everybody still affected by the COVID pandemic. We ask you to always be with our first responders and military. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any additions, staff?
Yes, sir. We've got a couple things. The DOT Integrated English Proficiency Plan, something that there was a sudden change after it was completed, so we wanted the board to approve the sudden change. So it's just a change in the demographic data in the table, and it is time sensitive. Normally we go on consent since the agenda had already gone out. And the other thing is you're going to talk about the FAC legislative days, and the board is still planning to do that.
Now, are we adding that to the end of the meeting, or you want to do
Well,
that?
it can be at the end of the meeting.
Okay. All right, staff, do I have any, commissioners, do y'all have anything y'all would like to add to the meeting?
Move to adopt the agenda as amended.
Second. Got a motion and a second to adopt the agenda as amended. Do I have all in favor? Aye. Okay, at this time, we're going to ask Tom with the Columbia County Health Department. He's had a long day. We want to let him get his done and so he can get home and get some dinner.
Good evening, Commissioners. And I appreciate you accommodating me to go first. You're correct. It's been a long day with vaccinations. Another good day. So you have some report data in front of you. The only thing that I truly want to target on that is the first page. It talks about the vaccines 65 plus in Columbia County. We're currently at 43% based on our data that we have. We feel that's inaccurate. It should be roughly in the 50% range, and that's due to the VA is doing a lot of veterans, and we do not get that data from the federal government in any timely fashion. It may be a couple months before we get that to correlate into this. So we feel that that's closer to 50% right now. So we feel very good, though, about what we have done. Commissioner Williams, you had asked for some additional information. So there is a single sheet that I provided to you that gave a breakdown of where the vaccinations have come from in Columbia County as a whole. And roughly 8,000 and some change vaccines are from the health department. And then there's a breakdown. Lake City Medical's done about 600. Publix over the last couple of weeks has done 52. Sam's/Walmart has done about 133 over the last couple of weeks. And then Palms Medical over about the last month has done 472. So that's a breakdown of the total vaccinations in the county are 9,359, but you wanted a breakdown of exactly where they came from. So I hope that will meet the information that you wanted.
Tom, are you looking for these other, the ones that have a low figure now that put this up?
Again, I'm not sure what their plans are. Publix, Sam's, Walmart, and then also Winn-Dixie will be getting in that mix too. Those are handled through the federal government and the federal distribution, so we're not quite sure. They don't include us in their information, and we're not sure how much of a impact that they are going to have. We hope that they will, especially as the governor continues to open up vaccinations. We're hoping that they will pick up more vaccinations to give us a hand.
Okay. Thank you.
Tom, let me ask you something, because this is something that was brought up. I've had two people call me, but I think you're handling it. It's handled. It's just misinformation. an assistant of one of the physicians here in town told them, okay, you have to be 65 or older, but y'all have an exception for people that have, like Commissioner Williams was talking about, an exception for people that are high risk because of diabetes or whatever. Well, that person called me and said, well, somebody in the doctor's office is saying that you have to be over 65.
No.
That is not true, correct?
No, it's not, and I'll tell you
Okay.
what, let me jump to that now.
Okay.
And address that now.
And it's really an easy thing. You get the form, you fill it out, you come to the health department, and the lady got it handled in no seconds. So no problem.
So here's the issue with the vulnerable population clause, okay? If they're under 65, we're not the ones that do that, okay? That's not our task. So based on the executive order, it is doctors, the advanced nurses, the APRNs, or pharmacists. Those are the three populations that would vaccinate the vulnerable. There is a specific form that they have to have filled out. That has to be filled out by a medical doctor, not a PA or APRN. It's got to be a medical doctor. So with the three categories that are there, most of the doctor's offices do not have the vaccines yet. Okay, the APRNs would also be working in the doctor's offices. They don't have the vaccine yet. That leaves pharmacists. So what we had done initially is we recommended folks three options. Shands UF is the regional hospital that has vaccines allocated for that, and to have their doctor coordinate with Shands UF. Okay. The second option, second and third, call Walmart, call Publix. They have a pharmacist there, and see if they will administer the vaccine. So because we know that that is a problem, and until there's some language changes, I know everybody thinks the health department can do it. We can, but not based on what was put out in the executive order. That is a different group that will handle that vaccination. So we're not the ones doing that right now. However, I can tell you within the next several days, we have finished a solution that we need to do some paperwork on. There will be a local option so that there is a pharmacy available that can handle those individuals. And I think we'll have that out in the next couple of days. And that team can handle the vulnerable population locally so that they don't have to go to Shands UF, and they don't have to worry about what Publix and Walmart are going to do. So I hope that will calm folks down. It's a situation we were presented, and we feel that we came up with a solution to address the public and make them happy. So if they'll just be patient, we have that solution. If I can back up, a couple of the things I wanted to touch on, just to make the board aware. The last meeting, you approved the Everbridge purchase for what we needed. We're in beta testing of that right now for the scheduling. We hope to have that live next week sometime. So we'll keep you posted on that. Wanted you to be aware that the county manager, Mr. Krause, had contacted me about a request from the Richardson Center to do some work to try and get some people transported from the Richardson Center over to the vaccination site. So I'm pleased to say that in quick order, I think that started Friday of last week, and by today we were able to work with Swanee Valley Transit. Larry Sessions over there was great at providing a bus so that we could transport 16 people. It was a test run today. The Richardson Center had 16 people there for us to pick up. The bus picked them up, brought them directly over to the vaccination site. We were able to get them taken care of and transported back. If they have a group next week, we'll set that up. If they have more people, we've committed that we'll run 2 buses to run 32 people over to accommodate some of the folks that in that community don't have transportation. So that went extremely well. And I wanted you to understand Swanee Valley Transit stepped up on that. Was no questions. They provided the transportation for the team. In the latest executive order, teachers, law enforcement officers, and firefighters that were over 50 were it was loosened so that we could vaccinate those individuals. So I wanted you to be aware that just about all of the law enforcement officers that are 50 and above that did want a vaccine, we've coordinated with those entities and have provided vaccines to them. If somebody hears this and they have not been contacted, please work with your administration, because that's who we're dealing with, the administrators, to set that up for the law enforcement officers. Firefighters, same thing. We've coordinated with the firefighters and have done the majority of them. We're still waiting to see if any others want to get vaccinated. Teachers, we actually started that probably a little early, and the majority of that, I want to say about 70% of the teachers are already complete today. Of those that are 50 and older that wanted to be vaccinated, I may be off on those numbers a little bit, but it's close. We're working hand in hand with the school district to get that taken care of. So we've got some other options to provide for teachers. The governor made a comment today, and I just want to caution people, please listen to what he says when he talks about what groups are opened and where they're opened. There was a comment that was made today that teachers of all age are open for vaccinations at the federally run sites. So there's 4 federally run sites that have been set up. The closest one here is in Jacksonville right now. That's what he is referencing, that any teacher can go there at any age. Right now, I'm still under the guidelines to 50 and above. We hope that that will be loosened quickly and can address that for any of the population. With that, I'll pause, and if there's any questions of the commissioner or the public, I'll be glad to address that.
Well, Tom, no question, but a comment. You guys are doing a tremendous job in the organization and all that you all have set up and tweaked it, and it worked like clockwork, and that's very important. Get a lot of compliments.
Thank you.
From what you guys are doing out there.
It's a great team effort.
And you hit. I'm glad you hit on this last part of your conversation, because that is a concern, not as much in Columbia County when you said you have that many, but under the president mandate that all teachers, people that work, non-teachers that work in the school system, that they got priority, but those go to those federal
Correct.
places and not our common places, if I understood you.
As of today, that is what was stated.
Okay.
And my opinion, I think it'll change for us very quickly. But as of today, that's, if somebody called that was in that range that I cannot vaccinate, we would recommend they go to the closest site in Jacksonville.
Okay.
And it's a little frustrating on our part. We want to be able to take care of them locally, but I've got to work within the guidelines that we've been provided.
Okay.
Thanks, Tom.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Tom, thank you. You're doing a great job.
Great job.
Okay, we're gonna move on to,
All right.
we got a proclamation for the number 2021 P-03 Red Cross Month and 140th anniversary of the American Red Cross. They couldn't be here with us tonight, but I'm gonna go ahead and read the proclamation. It says, Columbia County Board of County Commissioners, Proclamation number 2021 P-03, Red Cross Month and 140th anniversary of the American Red Cross. Whereas the American Red Cross is a humanitarian organization founded in 1881 and originally chartered by Congress as a federal instrumentality in 1900, but receives no federal funding. And whereas the American Red Cross prevents and alleviates human suffering in the face of emergencies by mobilizing the power of volunteers and the generosity of donors, and whereas the American Red Cross responds to more than 70,000 disasters annually and delivers vital services to members of the armed forces, their families, and veterans at home and overseas, and provides life-saving health and safety training to more than 5 million people in 2020. And whereas March is recognized as Red Cross Month across the nation, and 2021 marks the 140th anniversary of the American Red Cross and the 104th anniversary of Capital Area Chapter, established here in Big Bend area in May 1917. And whereas the American Red Cross has repeatedly answered the call to respond to emergencies in the Big Bend area, beginning with the yellow fever epidemic of 1888, including support to American troops during the Spanish-American War and the Spanish flu pandemic in 1918. And whereas the Capital Area Chapter of the American Red Cross provides its humanitarian services across the 12 counties in Big Bend area and is a part of the Red Cross North Florida region, stretching from the coast across the entire breadth of the Florida Panhandle. And whereas the North Florida region and Capital Area Chapter of the American Red Cross in 2020 has helped more than 1,500 families affected by home fires and other disasters, including 76 residents of Columbia County, Florida. And whereas the North Florida Red Cross region provided 23,000 vital services to military members, veterans, and families, and deployed more than 500 of its 1,600 volunteers in response to hurricanes and other disasters in Florida and nationally. And whereas the American Red Cross and its Capital Area Chapter have delivered these vital services without interruption and with scrupulous attention to client and volunteer safety throughout the COVID-19 epidemic. And whereas the Red Cross disaster aid is free and 90 cents of every dollar donated goes directly to mission services delivery. And now therefore be it proclaimed by the Columbia County Board of County Commissioners that we recognize March 2021 is National Red Cross Month, the 140th anniversary of the American Red Cross, and commend the volunteers and paid staff of the North Florida region for their continuing humanitarian service to Columbia County and the state of Florida.
Mr. Chair, I move we adopt proclamation number 2021P-03.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Williams, a motion by Commissioner Murphy, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We want to thank the Red Cross. That's unbelievable. 90 cents out of every dollar goes towards helping somebody. That's great. Okay, at this time, we're going to go to our public hearings.
Good evening, Corbett Alday with Guardian Community Resource Management, Dade City, Florida. Thank you all for welcoming us once again to your county. We have on the agenda 2 public hearings and a fair housing training workshop for points. The first public hearing is for a community development block grant. All right. We're cooking with peanut oil now. All right. The community development block grants are federally funded by HUD. They come to the state develops a rule. There's a competitive process for application after that. One of the most important aspects of CDBG grants is that they must benefit low and moderate income persons. It's very, very competitive. There's a community-wide needs score that's determined by HUD, by LMI, census data. That's a base score, and then there's a lot of optional things that we can do for score. To give you an idea of what low and moderate income is, according to HUD, this is the 2020 income limits. So a family of 4 at $44,800 would be the upper limit of what we would call low to moderate income. There are several regular categories. There's the neighborhood regular category, which is for water, sewer, roads in a neighborhood, and the houses in the neighborhoods have to be low and moderate income families. There is a housing rehabilitation regular category. The county has an open application in process for the housing rehabilitation category, which will be opened up. If funded, it will be opened up to the entire county, unincorporated county, for applicants to apply for their house to be rehabilitated for code, safety, and health. There's one more regular category that typically would not apply to a county. It's commercial revitalization. It requires a community redevelopment area, and it would be focused on sidewalks and parking and lighting in the building in the downtown. Because the county has an open housing application, we're not eligible for a regular category grant, but we are eligible for economic development. We can have an economic development grant every year, and we can have a regular grant open. Economic development is about jobs and infrastructure. So the grant funds the water, the sewer, the rail, the traffic, the roads, the gas, the fiber, whatever's public infrastructure needed for that business to locate or expand in the county and create jobs. You must create one permanent job for every $35,000 of grant. Okay, I'm missing a slide. All right, so to give you an example of what that calculates out to, if you were doing a $1.5 million maximum grant, you would need 43 jobs. Okay, you would need 43 jobs pledged by the business partner. The process is straightforward. First public hearing is today. We'll have an application draft next. Then there'll be a second public hearing where we vote on a specific project. Staff has a project to present to you, but to follow CDBG process, we need to have public input and the council's discussion about what they think the priorities are first, and then we can present the staff idea for the application. So at this time, I'll pause and let you ask for public input and council input on economic development needs.
At this time, we'll declare the public hearing open. Do we have anyone that speaks? Okay, David, would you like to say anything about this? No one have anybody will close the public hearing at this time.
We do have a couple of projects that we're looking at, one in particular for the economic development one, which we'll present, I guess, at the second public hearing, unless we have input from the public that suggests a different project would be better. We currently have an economic development grant going on at 4775, another one in Ellisville at the wastewater treatment plant there, all of which were different fiscal years. So this is the next fiscal year.
So it is acceptable to present after, if we close public comment, we can present the project takeover. Yeah. Have you closed public?
Yeah, we'll close public hearing.
Okay. So the project that is being put forward by staff is the HACO project at the airport in partnership with the city. There are 2 buildings to be rehabilitated to facilitate HACO. And one grant would be an application by the city, and then another grant would be an application by the county. And they would be working in tandem together to get those 2 buildings rehabilitated for HACO. And that would require, they would require, the stipulation would be they would require to create, 86 jobs, 43 for the city, 43 for the county. And if y'all have any more questions about that, for their staff here about that know more about that project than I do.
So pretty much what they're going to do is they're going to take some of the older hangars and they're going to update them, put in modern fire protection. Because the current fire protection system, these were built post-World War II. They've been renovated not too recently, so they're pretty old. So this would update to NFPA standards with a new form of fire suppression, and then also some repairs to the roofs.
David, what is the estimated amount of the rehabilitation for the projects?
Well, with the two grants, each grant being 1.5 million, that's about $3 million. That would cover 2 hangars of the total of 8 hangars that they have out there. We've
So
also
that'll cover
applied-
it all?
So
Okay.
we've also applied for an Economic Development Administration grant for an additional 2 hangars other than the 2 that we're doing here.
Mhm.
And then HACO has already started renovations on hangars as well.
Okay.
So it's really all 3 parties working together.
Mr. Chair, does this open them up for new contracts or unable to get now because the fire system is inadequate?
Absolutely, they cannot get government contracts without updating the fire suppression system. Some of the contracts with some of the airplane carriers as they come back are going to require it as well. So if they want to stay in business, they absolutely have to have this.
I think this is vital to our community that we try to help them get this, redone so they can get the contracts. They need to keep jobs in this area. So this time do I have a motion to
So moved. Second.
have a motion by Commissioner Murphy, second by Commissioner Hollingsworth. All in favor for, CDBG grant application? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Commissioners. We will be bringing a draft application back to you at the second public hearing on that project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you ready,
We're
Mr.
ready.
Chair, for the
Yes.
next public hearing?
We are.
All right. Thank you again. Again, we have another project. It is a different kind of CDBG Community Development Block Grant. It is for COVID funding. It is from a federal special appropriation to the state. They are again having a rural, competitive application process. And again, we must benefit low and moderate income persons. Each activity has to do one of 3 things: benefit low and moderate income persons, prevent or eliminate slum or blight, or address urgent needs like a hurricane. 70% of all the funds must be used for LMI benefit. Project requirements for a CDBG COVID grant. It must prevent, prepare for, or respond to the coronavirus. So we must have a direct tie to working with the coronavirus. A direct effect is a possible option, like rehab a building to create additional quarantine and isolation rooms for recovering COVID-19 patients, or indirect benefit such as economic and housing market disruption, a small business assistance program, for example. Project costs cannot be less than $200,000 and it cannot be more than $5 million. You can only have one application and one activity for CDBG COVID. We can't submit multiple applications. There again is your income range for LMI. Some examples of activities of what HUD has given as things you could do with COVID money. You can do ADA sidewalks to allow for social distancing. So you'd be building or rebuilding the wider pathways that are conducive to handicap access to give more room for pedestrians to socially distance. Rehabilitation of a facility for testing and vaccination with HVAC replacement and touchless bathrooms. So you're rehabilitating a building to make it safer and more suitable for a testing site. Rehabilitation of facility for job training for those affected by COVID-19. So that would be a secondary benefit. where we'd be retraining people who've lost their jobs or lost hours because of COVID-19, retraining them to get them into other jobs. Extend water and sewer to a new plant that will produce personal protection equipment. So this would be infrastructure for jobs again, but the plant, the private plant, is one that has contracts and works on personal protection equipment. So that's your tie to COVID. And then rent, mortgage, and utilities assistance. I think you already have a rent, mortgage, and utilities assistance program, so you're probably familiar with that out of other funds. This project is a little different. There's a pre-application that we're asking you to authorize staff to pursue, and then there'll be a review period and a site visit period, and then we will come back with a full application if invited to. Any agreements would be needed by the time of the full application. The pre-application is just a plan, a budget, a map, a short description of the project and what we want to do. And there again, we need to allow for public input and council input before we hear from staff their project idea, staff comments, if any, at that time. So with that, I'll pause and let you have your public input and council deliberations.
We'll open the public hearing at this time. Do we have any input? Not seeing any input. David?
We debated over several projects, and the one that we're proposing is to sort of related to economic development. It's to provide the infrastructure for a company at the intermodal park that will create and produce personal protective equipment.
We'll close public hearing at this time. Board, motion or any comments on this?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
you ready for a motion?
Yeah, I'm ready for a motion. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we move forward on the Community Development Block Grant number FFY 2020-2021.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Williams, a second by Commissioner Witt. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, commissioners. And I only have one more item. It's a brief slide presentation for fair housing training. The reason we do these is the award agreements that we do have require us to do fair housing activities. They also give us points for fair housing activities on the grant applications. I'll try to keep it brief. The Fair Housing Act under the Civil Rights Act of 1968 was established to protect people from discrimination when purchasing or renting property as a residence. You have a fair housing ordinance as well, and then you have Florida Chapter 760, Florida statutes. It is illegal to discriminate based on race, color, religion, sex, national origin, handicap, or familial status when renting, selling, or financing a home or property. HUD has added to that genetic history or genetic history has been added to that. You have rights if you feel you've been discriminated against. There's a slide at the end to give you contacts. Some examples of what's not. It's usually easier to say what's not covered as an idea to give you what fair housing protects. Marital status, source of income, criminal history. These things can still be considered whether someone rents you a house or sells you a house or gives you a mortgage. Other examples that are exempt, an owner-occupied building with up to 4 units, say a quadruplex, and the owner lives in one of the units and rents the others out, that would be exempt. And then a 55 and older designated community, zone community would be exempt. for example. Some examples of discrimination: if they tell you housing is unavailable when in fact it is, you deny a person with children with children under the age of 18, discriminate against residents because of disability, advertising to preferred groups only, coercion, intimidation, of course, using different terms or conditions for a mortgage or loan for a different class of person, making assumptions about your ability to pay based on your race or national origin, steering, showing you apartments in a particular neighborhood only, requiring more documentation from you than others than is necessary. So for those of you that feel that you've been discriminated against, or if you know someone who feels that they've been discriminated against, there's your contacts: Florida Council on Human Relations and the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. And with that, I'm here for your questions. I don't need a motion or anything. This is just a training activity.
Do we need to schedule one of these workshops or just, how does this?
I'm sorry, say again, sir?
This is the workshop right here. Right?
That's it.
Okay, yeah.
That was all.
That's why, okay.
We're done.
Yeah. All right. Okay, David.
Thank you very much. The next item, relatively quick item. The Rural Florida Site Preparedness Grant Agreement. EFI Enterprise Florida has given the Economic Development Department a grant of $24,900 in which to do a marketing plan, conceptual design work, environmental surveys for properties along the south side of Bell Road. And we would like you to approve the grant so that we can go ahead and start marketing the south side of Bell Road.
You get a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we approve the award agreement from EFI.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
At this time, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. David, you carry on.
The next one is the Bell Road Wetland Mitigation Planting Plans. So as you know, when we built Bell Road, it was in a very wet area. We had to disturb some wetlands and we have to mitigate those wetlands. We've planned in our plant and are doing the mitigation at the landfill. As part of that, we have to plant certain species of plants. So we went out with it for a bid, RFP 2101, and it came back. At the time the bids were accepted, there was one bid, but it was not on the proper forms, didn't provide the bid bond for a couple reasons. It wasn't compliant. We received a couple bids that came after we closed the bids. So we received 0 that were compliant bids. So the board has a couple options. Originally, we thought it was going to cost greater than $25,000. We now believe it's going to cost less than $25,000. So our options are, we can rebid it. We can, because we believe it's less than $25,000, go out for 3 quotes. Or we could try and clear up the problems with the first bid. And we're recommending go out for 3 quotes.
I agree. I'll make that motion. I make a motion, we go out for 3 quotes.
So second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Okay. All right, Councilman Foreman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. 2 items somewhat related. The first is rescission of a prior board action, the annexation, voluntary annexation of the county industrial park into the city of Lake City. I included the prior agenda item as well as the backup for that agenda item is backup to this item. There's also a short memo. Essentially, based on recent developments with respect to utilities, it was suggested that annexation be halted until there's more clarity on those issues. Because the board previously approved the voluntary annexation application, it's necessary for the board to vote again to rescind that.
Mr. Looker, you got comments on this? Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I just have a question. It says in County Attorney Foreman's memorandum, it says, following recent developments concerning utilities at the North Florida Mega Industrial Park, but it doesn't say what those developments are. I was just wondering maybe Mr. Foreman could explain that, because it just doesn't, sort of like giving a month without a date, you know what I mean?
Mr. Foreman, would you like to take that, or would you want?
Basically the lack of availability of water at the North Florida Mega Industrial Park, and the fact that we're going to have to go forward with the raw water well and the WUP and all the other things we've been talking about.
Thank you. Okay, do I have a motion on this? Or y'all even comment?
So move.
How would we word that motion?
You would be worded to rescind the,
Hold on just a second, gentlemen. If you read what I wrote on motion, the motion will be to rescind the board's action of September 3rd, 2020, approving the city's request for annexation. So you can start there, or you can just say so moved.
so moved.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Madam Clerk, did you get it? Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next item is also related to the North Florida Mega Industrial Park and the question of utilities. As the board will recall, there was an interlocal agreement made with the city of Lake City some time ago relating to construction of a wastewater treatment plant at the North Florida Mega Industrial Park. Subsequently, circumstances have changed. I think the board's very familiar with those changes in circumstances, the fact that we're applying for the water use permit. Staff has been advised by our engineer consultants that it's advantageous for the county to have its own operational wastewater treatment plant at the site as part of our recharge and mitigation efforts. Is that correct terminology, Mr. Kirk? Mitigation for our application. And so in order to be able to make that application and represent that it is in fact going to be the county's plant, it's necessary to rescind this interlocal.
Yeah, at the very least, we're gonna need to renegotiate it. If we do decide to look back at this later, things have changed as far as the collection piping that they were supposed to hook to. There's no collection pipe to hook to that'll handle this, and also the issue of the water. So, go ahead, Steve.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a question. I am looking at Mr. Foreman's memorandum on page 56 of the agenda. It says the interlocal agreement in section J provides, however, any party to the agreement may terminate the agreement for any reason by providing 90 days written notice. I asked the city who put that in there. They didn't seem to know, although Mr. Elfenberg was investigating. Maybe the county knows who put the 90 days for any reason in there, considering the amount of money being invested and the price of the grants and stuff. Thank you. I'd just like to have the 90 days. Got you.
Excuse me, it's boilerplate language in interlocal agreements. We frequently allow ourselves, both agencies have the 90 days. Also want to make it clear, the grant itself is not being terminated. The plant is still scheduled for construction. This is just about what's going to happen with the plant. To follow up on Commissioner Ford's point,
And another point that's been asked of me several times this week, absolutely, this does not mean there's no room for negotiation or further agreements. It's just this particular interlocal agreement would be terminated.
Any comments? Well, I'll comment. I think it was obvious we were going to get here based on the actions of the last few months. I still hope there's room for the city to come on board in a regional concept. I think a lot of, in listening to their meeting, I think a lot of just predetermined notions about what a regional utility would look like is being put out there based on some presentations made to us. And I did have the conversation with the mayor offline that, this doesn't have to be anything boilerplate. That if the city would just agree in the beginning to come on in a regional concept and give equal governance over a utility, if they just get past that point, there's ways to do this where the city remains whole, where the city keeps its workforce, where the city's workforce runs utilities, but at the top of the chain, that this board has an equal say, and any other government agency we bring on, such as the town of Fort White, that is interested in countywide utilities. It's no longer one board controlling the destiny of projects in the county anymore. And it's a necessary step. So what happened with the last project never happens again, that we don't have to say no. And it's not us trying to flex our muscle. It's not us trying to say there's no room for working with you. There's plenty of room to work with you. And I see this, if you just open your minds and look into it, the city's utilities could be better, stronger, and the county could too. But I think there's just some preconceived, I heard the comment that in the city meeting, something along the lines of, well, they just want to take half our utilities. And no, we don't. We want to share the utility infrastructure across the whole county. We want to help you pay for upgrades on your side you can't pay for. And as far as losing jobs, we don't want to run it. You can have the workforce. So a regional utility makes the most sense for Columbia County right now. If you'll just get past the concept of, if you'll just agree to, in the end, both governments or all governments have equal say on running utilities. If you just get past that one point, it can be whatever we negotiate beyond that. And that's where it's very disappointing to me that the city has closed that door, actually slammed that door, and won't even talk about it. So we as a county are going to move forward like we have to protect our taxpayers and to provide utilities at our sites. And, I still hope that this can be a joint effort one day. I really do. But until then, we've got to do what we've got to do.
I agree, Commissioner Witt. I think the door was closed before they even had a chance to see what was available. At this point, I'm fine with negotiating with the city, and a regional utility can be made up however how you want to make it up that benefits all parties involved. It's not one size fits all. And I would like to see the city come back to the negotiating table and talk to us about this, and let's sit down and see if we can't come to some kind of agreement. But they have to be willing to sit down and talk for us to negotiate. And like I say, I would really love to see them act a little different about this.
And Mr. Chair, one more thing. I do want to put this in there too. I do want to see the city come back to the negotiating table, but I'm 100% confident if they don't, Columbia County can handle the future utility needs of this county. So I just want to make that clear.
No doubt.
We're going to do it no matter what.
I agree, no doubt about it. We're moving forward with or without them, like I said before. But I sure would like for it to be with them.
And it benefits everybody. I heard somebody in the last meeting say, well, I represent the city, not the county. Well, that's true. We were elected by the county, but the city is going to do well with this too. And we are too. We're all going to do well. And it's like, we're not at odds. We're not wanting to fight with each other. We just want to do what's best for the county. And what's best for the county is usually good for the city. They want jobs. Those people want these jobs. We want these jobs. Everything will be good for everybody. And it seems that there's some things where they said we wouldn't work with them. This last meeting, they said that we didn't want to work with their advisory council and we didn't want to be on their advisory council. And I don't know where that came from or how that happened, but there were 3 other people in me that knew that was not true. And things like that are what drives a wedge between us. We voted on January 21st to have 2 people, you and Tim Murphy, the Commissioner Ford and Commissioner Murphy, on their advisory council. And this last meeting, they said that, I can do the quotes, but the words were, they are not interested. They've made it clear. There's many, to paraphrase it, that we don't want anything to do with their advisory council. And that is just simply not true. And I don't know if, I want to make sure the people of the city and the people of the county know that we never did that. We never refused to be on it. In fact, we voted to be on it. So I want to make sure that everybody knows that we're doing everything we can to work with the city, and we hope they'll be more open-minded, and we hope we'll be more open-minded. And they're just, we can drive a wedge between us and not do something, but like Rocky said, we're going to do it. There's going to be utilities, and if the county has to do it by themselves, then so be it.
I concur with Mr. Hollingsworth. We've all learned a lot here in the last 18 months that we honestly didn't know 18 months ago. And this is a perfect opportunity to bring everybody back to the table, clean slate. We know what we're dealing with. We know we don't have suitable infrastructure to the site that we assumed that we did. We know what the consumptive use side, use availability is on the city side, and we know what we're having to do on the county side. It's just the proper time, let everything in the past just kind of flow where it's at. And like Mr. Witt said, come into this thing open-minded, and we'll deal with it. Everybody on this board, I think, one time or another has committed to the simple fact that, we'll work together. And there's some things we may not be able to work together on, but it doesn't drive a wedge in us. We go on to the next project. It's just that simple.
So do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Murphy, second by Commissioner Witt, all in favor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
David, I believe you had a couple additions.
Yeah, the first addition was really quick, an amendment to the limited English proficiency plan that DOT requires of us. Like I said, typically it would be on your consent agenda. There was an error in the table that you can see in there that's required. So Chad Williams had made the amendments necessary, and we need, of course, to get this adopted so we can continue with our DOT funding.
Where is that? We have documentation on that?
It should have been in your packet.
Paperwork.
Yeah, on this, on the addition.
I got a copy here.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the limited English proficiency plan.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Witt.
Second.
And a second by Commissioner Witt. All in favor?
Thank you very much. Then the other item that we wish to add to the agenda was the Florida Association Counties Legislative Days, a discussion of how the board wants to proceed. Originally was set up, there was going to be a small counties coalition on the 16th. The legislative day is on the 17th, and that evening there was going to be a reception and more meetings as well. Since that time, I guess have been paying more attention to COVID. The Small Counties Coalition meeting was canceled. The evening reception and meetings with the legislative folks was canceled. They are still having the day. It is both online, so you can watch it online, and in person. If you choose to go in person, you meet that morning in the Civic Center, Assembly Center, whatever they call it, and they have a briefing that morning by the Florida Association of Counties on what's going on in the legislature, and then from 11 o'clock to 5 o'clock, there are basic chances to meet with different legislators. You can't go into the Senate building. Those are restricted. However, they are setting up ways for you to meet with different delegates, and we can set up those meetings.
Has there been a time set to meet with the rep in the Senate?
That's what we're trying to set up now, but we needed to see if the board still wanted to attend, or if they wanted to attend virtually, or what the board's plans were.
If we attend virtually, those meetings won't happen.
We can set up the meetings
No,
virtually.
we need to go on the seventh, that's for sure. The question, I think, is,
Yep.
do we spend the night on 16th? Or do we drive over early Sunday?
I think we're good with just driving down for the day
Yeah.
if everything
Yeah.
that night's canceled.
That's my plan.
David, if we don't have a meeting that's been set up for us to attend with the people that we want to, it doesn't make any sense to just go. But I think that's what David told me you were working on, our attorneys are working on.
Right, our lobbyists are trying to set up meetings with chairmen from the committees where we have key legislation that we're interested in.
I think we need to have representation there on the 17th, maybe not the whole board, but I think we need to have.
Well, Mr. Chair, there's really, we drive ourselves, there's really no, if we're not staying, there's really no expense. So
Not gonna cost the county.
if we get the meeting set up, we can go. If we don't, there's no harm, no foul.
Great, we'll get it taken care of.
David, are you still working on the possibility of us setting up a meeting with Ms. Espinoza?
Yes,
Okay. I think if anything, that'd be a very vital, looking at this utilities aspect. I'd love to have the opportunity to sit down with her, across the table.
and while you're meeting with the delegation, there's also a county managers meeting that I'll be attending, and I'll also be going over to DEO to talk to some of the granting people about some of the grants that we're working on.
Yeah, definitely try to get some face-to-face meetings set up.
Not a problem. And then I think Joel wanted to update you real quick. Nope. Oh, we were talking about it the other day. I can't remember what it was. Oh, well, if we think of it, we'll update you on it. It wasn't anything to add to the agenda. It was just a
Okay.
quick comment.
All right, at this time, I guess we'll have public comment. Anybody in the public want to comment at this time?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
all right, wait, let's look at these.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I just have a question. I'm not sure if I've asked it before. Historically, this county, when somebody does a job that's not in their job description and does it for a length of time, whether it was in the building department or secretary and they move to the road department or what have you, they get compensated at the next level. Mr. Kraus, he's not paying me to do this, but this has been bugging me since the beginning, as you well know. We're sitting in as the county manager for 3 months at his old rate of pay. I believe the right thing to do would be to pay him like you have everybody else and make up the difference. And I was just wondering if this board plans to do that, and that's my question. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
I have said in the past that I fully intend, if we hired Mr. Kraus for county manager, that we back pay him from the time he started. So I think that's something
Yeah.
we all agreed to do, is that,
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we do so it's on record.
got a
Second.
motion?
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Williams, second by Commissioner Murphy. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Foreman, come up, please.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna start off, Ms. Davis, and then if you wanna add anything, if you can, okay? Ms. Gloria? Ms. Gloria bought some property in 1983.
Okay.
We adopted the comprehensive land use plan somewhere around 2000, 2001. You might not realize this, but we were the last county in the state of Florida
Yeah.
to
I know.
adopt the comprehensive land use plan because we felt that we shouldn't be the ones to have to tell people what to do with property. And the state told us, say, well, if you all don't, we're gonna adopt one for you. You can go by what we adopt. And the board then adopted the comprehensive land use plan. Well, Ms. Davis has some property up on 441 North. It's from Sparta Road to the Georgia line is one house per 20 acres.
Okay.
She has a piece of property that is 18 plus acres, a little less than 19 acres. That was, grandfathered in. Because it was a lot of records before the comprehensive land use plan was adopted. But she wanted to sell 10 acres off that 18 plus acres. And under our comprehensive land use plan, Brandon is telling us that after I got involved in it, that we can't. Because, it's one house for 20 acres on Sparta Road, north of the Georgia line. Did I say it right, Miss? Well, you need to come up and give your address to the, give your name and address to the clerk.
Give your name and address.
Give your name and address to the board. Okay.
You gotta get to the microphone.
Want me, I'll go. Frank Davis. Yeah, I just want to show our community out there has grown. It ain't no longer 20 acres. Everybody's, if you can see that, that's when a quarter mile radius, that's how many houses are around us. Well, the piece we want to do is right in the center. Now, it is 18 acres, but 8 of it's wetland and a graded road. So it's really just basically useless. You can't really get there. The road, so it's only a 10-acre good solid hill with big giant oaks on it. And we just wanted to sell that particular piece to our neighbor. Our neighbor next door has a son and he needs a place to live and he wants to, one of the hall boys, he wants to buy the property. And we said, well, you know, we'll do that if we can get it rezoned there, you know. And before, when it was done in the 90s, none of these houses were there. But since the property lots got split up, and most of these people I don't even know, they just came from somewhere else. But like I say, in a radius of a quarter of a mile, you can't hunt the property because if you shoot in any direction, you're literally shooting someone else's house. And to clear the property, the big oaks on all, it'd be just useless for pine tree land. I mean, you would never get it back in your lifetime. So what we were trying to do is just, if I could, to get you guys to just rezone this little piece for him, you know. Can y'all see it from where you're at?
I think, Mr. Davis, what you would have to do is apply for a zoning change on the property.
Yes, sir, that's what we're wanting
And
to
go to
do.
planning and
And,
zoning board, and then,
It's deeper than that. It's deeper than that.
Bigger than that.
It's deeper than that.
oh, is it?
Joe?
Mr. Chairman,
20 acres.
Yes.
so once again, because this just seems to come up, not a lot, but occasionally, you know, common sense conflicts with our plan. And I'll say it again, why can't we as a board, I don't care if it's legal or not, just say, let him do it, and tell me who from Tallahassee is gonna come down here and take me to jail because I voted for that.
So I've got a bar card, so I have to answer your questions a certain way.
Keep Robert's
Okay.
number.
I'll get you out, Toby. I'll get you out.
You are limited in your power as a board by your charter, by the Florida Constitution, and by the general laws of the state of Florida. Density is governed by general law. Florida's comprehensive planning statute says unless it's within your duty or within your comprehensive plan otherwise, it's 1 per 20 acres. It's all about density. That's all the statute's concerned about is how, and I understand what you're saying, sir, believe me.
That's
I'm
how
not,
density is. This is across the street.
Joe,
This is across the
Joe.
street. This is not like, you
look.
can't get no denser than this.
We agree with you.
it's not a
Could he
matter
not
of,
sell that to his neighbor?
his neighbor
And
would not be able to
once
afford
his neighbor acquires the property, join it to his property, and then do a family lot split?
in theory, as long as that piece of property is over 20 acres, the resulting parcel, that might work. So the issue,
Well, a
you
family
have-
lot split don't have to meet.
the issue that you have, so the remainder property already has a house on it, this piece right here.
Now, this here's the two pieces. This is pond, graded road, a stream. It's basically almost impossible to sell that piece. of
Are
property.
there any
It's
structures on
wetlands.
either one of those pieces?
No, no.
Okay.
Oh, so there's no structure.
So
on
the
it.
issue right now is, even though that's called a legal non-conforming lot,
Now, we
And
can
it's-
sell the 18. That's legal.
and it will
And
still
that's
have,
under
that's what I was about to explain.
That's,
So what you have is a legal nonconformity. Okay, so when the comp plan was passed, that lot already existed, And instead of stripping away their rights and saying, well, you're under 20 acres, so you can't have a permit there, that piece of property is eligible for a permit. But our code and statute says the minute you alter the boundaries of a legal non-conforming lot, it becomes an illegal non-conforming lot. So not only would he lose the permit on the one piece of property, he'd actually lose the permit on both resulting parcels. And that's what you want to be careful of there. And that's not our code, that's state law.
So he loses the grandfather.
He loses the grandfather.
He can build on that. He just can't alter it in any way and then build on it.
Well, my whole thing is if you're going to split off any of that property, you need to pull your permit and build your structure before you do.
Joe,
Yes, sir.
here where I couldn't figure out what Brandon was saying. In my district, I got a lot of 1 acre lots. There were lots of records. And people are building houses on those. Matter of fact, you got an acre in District 1 out there in the woods, you can get what you want for it. You can just say, I want $20,000 for that acre, and most times they'll buy it because there's no 1 acre lots out in north end of the county. But all those that were lots of records, just like these 18 acres were lots of records. Brandon told me even if they bought 18 acres, they couldn't build a house on it because the density is 20 acres. And the 18 was a lot of record when the comprehensive land plan, when we adopted the comprehensive land use plan.
Right. So you take a snapshot at the time the comprehensive plan is passed, and any of those lots under 20 acres get the grandfather. Right. So this one's 18 acres. The minute he turns it into 10 and 8, neither one of them gets a permit because they're both under 20. Correct. Because you lose your grandfathering. It's just the way the statutes and the code work.
But he can sell they can sell the 18 acres and they can build a house on it.
The whole 18 can be sold and you keep your grandfathering. But the minute you change the boundaries of a non-conforming legal lot, it becomes a non-conforming illegal lot. Both of them do. And that's the risk. And we have to, it's not just you, Mr. Davis.
And I will tell you, there's several lots in
the
the county that people have done that same thing to, that's basically a non-conforming lot.
And look, and to be fair, and to Mr. Davis's point, which that's why I
It's
don't,
not fair.
I don't doubt
It's
that.
not fair.
Well, no, but I don't doubt that exists at all because historically, has there been tight enforcement of permitting? I mean, we got unpermitted structures in this county. I mean, we just do. All right. And so, you know, I don't know. I have to answer the question according to what the law is. I say that you guys are the policymakers.
No, I'm saying there is people that have split off their property and sold 4 or 5 acres, and the people buy it, then they find out they can't build a house.
Can't build a house on it.
Well, a situation down on the south end of the county where there were 3 homes on the old family parcel. They split off those 3 homes, sold off the remaining property. The remaining property was stuck.
Rocky, my Uncle Charlie, right where the Winfield Fire Department is now, he sold an acre of land. He told the county that property, the fire station on. Then he sold an acre of land to somebody. And I said, Uncle Charlie, you can't do that. Being an old timer, he said, ain't no black and white, black and white to tell me how to sell my property. I worked so hard for. And he told me, son, you might be my nephew, but you can go out that door. And I went out the door. Well, the lady bought the property anyway. And then when she wanted to move down from South Florida, he had a bill on it. She couldn't bill on it. And to bail her out, the county needed more space there anyway, and they bought the acre from her. So, you know, you find these places all over the county that's non-performing, that wasn't grandfathered in, lost the record before the comprehensive land use plan was adopted. But Brandon, I'm almost sure Brandon told me that even if they bought the 18 acres, they still couldn't build on it because it was one house for 20 acres. But what's the difference between that and a 1 acre lot? Is a lot of record before we adopt the comprehensive land use plan.
It's just whatever it was. If it was a half acre during that snapshot at the time, it's grandfathered in. Yeah. If it was 19 acres, it's grandfathered in. But the minute you change it, that's the issue. Now, what I would like to do, I feel like I'm up here with one hand tied behind my back. Because I want to get my maps out. I want to sit down. Mr. Davis, I'd be happy to spend time with you and go over it.
It just come up the same way. I'm just saying I'm landlocked here in a bunch of houses. We have no use for the property. This road here leads straight to my house. I want to sell that piece of property, and there's no room for work with y'all. And what's your position in this? What's your title?
I'm the county attorney.
County attorney.
And county commissioners basically are hands are tied until he says you can do it. Is this how-
It's
Well,
not
it's
that.
state
what he
law.
said.
Well, it's not him, it's the law,
It's not
you
me,
know, the
I'm
law.
telling you what the law is. If
Mr.
it was up to
Chairman.
me, I'd let you do it.
What is the complicated, bloated, bureaucratic government process we got to go through to change the density and let him do what he needs to do?
Change your whole doodle.
I don't think you can get the dude out to where Mr. Davis probably is. How far north of town are you?
I'm about 18 miles.
Yeah, you're not gonna get the dude out that far.
No.
Designated urban development area.
I've been through that, and
Well,
you get to move a mile, you've done something.
This is a community. That's not one house, that's
Mr.
14
Davis,
houses.
I get it. I do understand exactly what's going
Somebody's
on.
got to have the, somebody somewhere along the line has to be able to say, look, that's a community, that's no longer agriculture, you know what I mean? It's no longer, we're not out, I'd like to say I was out in the country, I moved there to get away from everybody, but they followed me, you know what I mean?
Even if we get him into ag zoning though, it's still gonna be 10 acres. So you're still
Yeah.
gonna have a problem.
Ron, what year was the comprehensive plan adopted again?
Early 90s. She knows.
When was a comprehensive
Well, I
plan?
appreciate y'all taking my proposal.
Okay, so in 91, Frank,
The county attorney's gonna research it and see if there's
That's
something.
what I'm saying. If I'm not gonna charge anything, I'm an attorney. I'll be happy to sit down and look at it
Right
with
in the
you.
middle of a community, it's not, like I said, if I'm out agricultural land, I say, well, I'm in agricultural land, but I'm not. I'm in a subdivision.
I can sit down, I can show
Gotta be
you.
a little tiny something in there to say if you're in a subdivision, you get rid of that piece of property. You just keep holding it on just because someone 20, 30, 40 years ago said, oh, that's all agriculture. Well, it wasn't then.
It's really not about the agriculture though. It's about the desert. It's all state
I
statute
understand
stuff.
it's just the rules, what you're
The
saying.
state does this. We don't do it. The state tells us what we can do.
They got an organization, a department over there in Tallahassee called Department of,
I'm sorry, I lost you there, sir.
I say they got the Department of Urban Affairs that you go through and they tell you what to do and how you can do it. We do changes right now within the doodle and we have to send them to Tallahassee for them to approve.
Yeah.
If we can vote to approve it and they over there say, no, you can't do this, then
I've been watching zoning all the time out there. You go on 25A, all that's been rezoned. You go to Baker County, they're rezoning all kind of things over there. They're just did, like you said, the big car place on Bell Road, that's all been rezoned. Targets was all rezoned. Very simple stuff. You fill out a thing, they just rezone it. They do a mitigation.
But it was in the doodle, though.
Wetlands.
It
was in the
That's how
doodle.
simple it is.
You know, it was in the area where you
It is.
could
It's not
rezone.
simple. It's 5 acres, 10 acres in the middle of a subdivision. That ain't simple, but we can get targets did. That's kind of sideways right there already.
but, the attorney gonna get with you and see what he can get worked out for you.
I appreciate y'all's time because it's really important to me because we'd like to go forward with it. It's a very small issue to get,
And Mr. Davis, I'm gonna tell you right now, there's about a dozen ways to skin that cat that probably don't require you to split that property. So I'd like to talk to you about those, but privately.
All right.
I don't want you to misunderstand. I sincerely want to help you. But when they ask me what the law is, I have to tell them.
Yeah, well, I do agree with that, and I didn't realize you were the county attorney, and
that's okay.
we never, see, I didn't.
He doesn't really look like an attorney, does he?
I put on the suit and everything. I'm supposed to look the part.
You gotta have a toupee.
Let me give you one of my cards and call me when you got a moment that we can
Yes,
do that.
Yes,
And, because I'd like to get further into it, because I see the county changing, I see it changing for the worse if we can't get some of this stuff done. Because we have 20 million people in Florida now, we're bigger than New York. We gotta start thinking a little bit bigger than what we're doing, because this is killing us.
Is your cell number on there?
Yeah.
I'll text you before you leave here. You pay my building.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me-
thank you. All right, do I have any other public comments? Come up to the podium, Joe.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Glenn Bowden, 1156 Northeast Baskin Lawrence Drive. I was watching on YouTube, and this is my first time coming to a county commission meeting since COVID. I'll go to city council meeting, I'll go anywhere because I got a real problem with my wife under the details. But tonight, as I listened to your comments as it relates to the issue with the city, I got so upset that I left my dog by himself and put on these little t-shirt to run down here to express my concerns. It's almost as if when you are talking about the city and the county, It's almost as if you don't realize that those of us who live in the city, we're Columbia County residents. And I'm just telling you how it come across to me. It's almost as if the county this and the city that, as if there's a conflict between the two bodies. But there's 10,000 plus of us who pay county tax. I looked at my tax bill today. I pay it quarterly. I don't pay as much tax in the year, I'm sure. But I pay more county taxes than I pay city taxes. I vote for every constitutional officer, and I vote for Commissioner Williams, and everybody else got maybe one or two vote for county residents. And you come across as if it's the county, and those who live in the city, we don't benefit. I haven't heard anybody articulate what's the benefit going to be for those of us who live in the city. Because we don't have to pay for it too. We contribute to the same issue. And I guess I feel as a citizen as if we've been left out. I was 16 years on the city council, worked 24 years for Councilman Corrine Brown. And all my travels, I never met one person to know where Columbia County is. They said, where you from? I said, well, Columbia. They said, where is that? I said, so he said, oh, I said, from Lake City. Oh, no, I know where Lake City is. But they don't never mention they know where Columbia County is. So if Lake City don't get a positive representation, a positive view, then how you think that Columbia County gonna get it? Marion County is growing. People say, where's Marion County? I don't know. So where's Ocala? They know where Ocala is. They know where Marion County is because on 75 they see a sign that says Marion County. But I guess I got so upset tonight because I felt like as a citizen of Lake City, I was not being represented.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Everybody, things have changed since you was on the county committee, on city council. When Glenn L. Bowden, Mike Collins, Richard Cole, Mel Witt, and I forget the other one was there. We done things on a handshake, it was good. If we agreed to do something, by George, it was done. You didn't have to worry about it or anything else. But we cannot grow this county without utilities. When we have a city worker stand back up here on this podium and say, our city residents come first, and we trying to make jobs for your grandkids and my grandkids and everybody else's grandkids and have a decent job, and we keep losing companies because we can't put water and sewer to them for what they need. You might not know this. We didn't want to go to Ellisville and when we got into the utility business. We begged the city to give us water down to Ellisville or take over there or put the water down there. They would not do it. We talking about county residents now. They would not do it. We had to do it. We asked Wendell Johnson to put us a meter at Oasis Bar down there, and we were going to run water from Oasis Bar to Ellisville and pay the city so much a unit. They ever how you price it. The price was so high a unit, we were better off to go in business for ourselves down there. All of these problems that the city got in their utilities, they there because they skimmed all the money off the top the utilities made and didn't fix the infrastructure. You got a 12-inch line with a 4-inch line going into it.
You talking about Wendell Johnson? I'm talking.
I'm talking about as a whole.
But what about now? We got a new city manager and at least one new city council.
We have tried to work with them.
Does the same situation is
Okay, we're not gonna get into an hour-long debate. on this.
No, I want to.
You had your comment, and I think you heard every one of us sit up here tonight and say, we want to work with the city.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I need to say that.
I understand you've had your comment.
Mr. Chairman,
I'm cool.
I'd like to answer his question. I'll give you a great hypothetical way that this benefits, that having joint governance over utilities benefits both city residents and county residents, because city residents are also county residents, while the county residents that live in the city are also still county residents too at work, but it works both ways. But I'll give you got aging infrastructure in the city. You got a low tax base that can't handle that aging infrastructure. And utilities now have grown bigger than the city limits. We all agree to that, and they're going to keep growing bigger than the city limits. You come on with a regional concept, and now you leverage the tax base of the whole county, not just the citizens in the city, and you can bring some of those aging infrastructure needs up. Also, reuse and recharge. We've got more capability laying out in the county than you're ever going to get in the city. So all these cup concerns that are out here now about capacity, they go away if we work together. We want to work together. We just don't want one government to control it.
Yeah.
You know, and making assumptions about where we want to take it, the city's going to lose revenue. All that can be worked out in how we structure the utility. We're not trying to take anything from the city, or the city's going to lose jobs. No, your workforce can still manage it, because we have no. If the county took over utilities on our own, we'd probably contract it out, because we have no intention of hiring a workforce. So there are ways you can set this up to where it's nothing but a win for the city.
Yeah.
Nothing but a win.
A win-win.
You just got to get it past that initial stumbling block of we're not going to have all the control anymore. It's going to be a joint government control. And once you get past that, it's a win.
Yeah.
It's a win for everybody.
But when they refuse to come to the negotiation table, I don't know how you get started with that.
Mr. Chairman, I'm good, and I said I don't want to have no dialogue. What other county are our size in the state of Florida that operate a regional utility?
Oh, there's several.
Name 2 or 3, 4,
Well, David
5.
Kraus, let's get up and name
Right
before you
now,
go.
we talked with Warner Ranch District recently about the Nature Coast government utility, which actually includes Bixby and Hillcrest and a bunch of cities and counties down around.
And the one they proposed to us, it was US 79. That was 3 counties that got together and put that utility in. So it's not uncommon for the county to be in the utility business.
And Mr. Bowden, I understand what you're saying about city and county people, because we all have that same thing. And it's just like if I said right now in this meeting, I represent the county, not the city, and I'm going to do what's best for the county. Now, that was said, paraphrased in that last meeting at the city council meeting. A city councilman said, we weren't elected by the county, we were elected by the city. And I'm representing the city in saying that, you know, the county doesn't want to work with us. We don't want, you know, so to me, that was a negative thing to say, because like you said, we overlap city and county residents. I want everybody to have utilities, and I want everybody to have jobs, better jobs. I'm with you on that. I know, Mr. Warren, I know everybody needs better jobs in this county. So we need to quit saying city and county and say government, and let's help the people in the city and let's help the people in the county. And what's happening right now, we're 10 years behind, 10, 15. Ron's
15 plus.
You know, 15 plus, because we didn't get what we thought we were going to get from the city. So we're really backed in a corner, and we're going to come out of it. We have to.
Sylvester? Okay.
Sylvester Warren, 832 Northeast Richardson Terrace. Thank you, Chairman, Commissioners. I think I have the same concern similar to what Mr. Bowden is saying. We live in probably one of the poorest districts, and we really, really, really want jobs. We really want jobs because we understand, at least I understand, with my checkered past and some other things, that jobs would reduce poverty and would probably reduce crime. And if we don't get something done in 5 or 7 years, my community where I live, when I say my community, I'm just talking about where I live at, it's going to look like Moncrief in Jacksonville. And where Vanessa and I live at, it's going to be a freaking war zone. So as far as citizens, city and county, I live in District 1 and I live in District 10. When I vote for my city councilman, I also vote for my county commissioner, right? And I think that's in every district, in every area. I'm less concerned as an individual about words that are said to you from the city and from the city, from you to the city. I think that we got to focus on the citizens and what's best for the citizen. Yeah, our feelings may get hurt, our egos may get bruised because some people are using some words. I would beg to say that the county maybe should have gotten more information and more factual information, maybe something written from a lawyer that says that it can produce what they say it can produce, so that everybody would have been on the same page. It wouldn't be no guesswork. So everybody should blame, both the council and the commissioners. I would just say, let's just end it. And the citizen would really, really prefer for you all to lock two attorneys, the city attorney and the county attorney in the room, lock the door, padlock it, push the food and the water up under the door, and let them get the interlocal agreement worked out, that the county and the city equally are prioritized in sewer and water. And I think if this board gave their attorney direction to do that, and the city gave their board, their attorney direction to do that, I think we can come out of this thing okay. That's just my opinion. And there's some people that need to go. Some people at the city need to go, and some people at the county may need to go too. But that's just my opinion. You all run the ship.
Here's the biggest problem we got with forming a regional utility between the city and county. And my commissioner down there said it right. Once you get by that initial, say, we're gonna do this, you work out how it works, in a sense of speaking. But the city budget is based on revenue that they receive from utilities. Go look at it and see where the biggest, let me finish, where the biggest income at. And we had a city council sit right there and told us that. We cannot do this because this is where we get our revenue from, to run the city. Not to put back in the infrastructure that's been deteriorated for the last 25, 30 years. If you got a house, Sylvester, and you don't ever do any maintenance on it, what's going to happen?
It's going to deteriorate. It's going to fall apart.
Yep.
I'm more concerned about my son that moved to West Palm Beach that probably ain't coming back. I'm more concerned about my my grandson and my granddaughter that's 1 and 2 years old that his girlfriend have moved to Tampa that they probably won't ever come back. So I'm not concerned about a Todd Sampson. I'm not concerned about a Chris Green. I don't care nothing about that. I'm concerned about jobs and how to get it figured out.
It's the best. We don't either.
Yeah,
We're concerned with getting utilities to our industrial
Lock the
side,
attorneys in the room.
so we can get these.
Lock the attorneys in the room.
Sylvester, let me say something. You know, and the last meeting that we talked to Todd, remember he came in here and he said he was that they had 90 days to get, to get a study done to get water to the North Florida our industrial park. Okay, if they're really serious and they're ready to provide us with water, which they hadn't done in the last 15 years, okay, give us a proposal. Write it up. Tell us what you can do, when you can do it. And we're going to do a contract. No more handshakes. No more handshakes.
Okay, no more handshakes. I get y'all proposal.
I hope that somebody from the city's listening, because if y'all can do it, if y'all can give us what we need at the industrial park, write it up. And we'll look at it, I promise.
You live west, Robbie. You ain't going to have a war zone.
I know, but I'm saying.
I'm not going to go there, Sylvester, but here it is when we trying to keep your kids and everybody else from going somewhere else because they don't have a good job, and we got an industrial park out there where if we don't provide the X amount of jobs, we got to pay back on $20 million. And when we get companies that come here, good paying jobs, they come here and we can't provide the utilities to them, and we have the city tell us, here's our priority list, and the mega site is the last one on the list. It's the last one on the list.
Mr. Green, I agree with everything you said.
Yeah.
And all I'm asking is we just figure it out together. That's all I'm saying.
Mr. Chairman, I think it's important to remember, we can lock attorneys in the room, whatever, but you can't get to that step right there until that first step. They have got to agree that this is going to be a multi-governing board running this thing. And until they get past that one point, once you get past that one point, we can lock them to verbally say it. We can lock them in the room.
You want them to verbally say it.
They need that's what you got to commit to. Once you commit to that, you can work it out. However, and as far as getting research, there's no research. Ours don't have to look like anybody else's in the state. It's going to be what's right for us if we do it. So you just got to get past that one point. Yeah.
And by us, we mean the city and the county and Fort White, if they're a part of it, not just the county or the city. Okay, anything else? Any more public comment? Any more information?
I talked enough.
Murphy? Good. Ron, you got anything to add? All right, Robbie?
I don't have any more comments.
Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.